Good morning. Are we settling in nicely for our Sunrise video series where we found out that Y Combinator does not have a live stream, aka Stanford Y Combinator now are trying to put up a paywall. Is this a paywall where you have to pay to get in? Yeah. How can this mediocre news / negative news benefit us? This is what we're going to explore, which is what they don't teach you in school on realizing that whether people invite us or whether people shun us or try to keep us out, these things could be positive. Why? Because we're positive thinking people. Why? Because you'd think that with YC putting up a wall that, oh, well, I didn't even know about it, so it doesn't affect me. That's a laziness in thinking. That's why we're in this comedy show where we're going to have a really fun time winning while entering flow. We're going to have a really good time with taking advantage of institutions that are trying to do what's best for the institution. The institutions that I'm talking about, there's 3 of them. YC, which you may not have ever heard of, and that's okay. It's an incredibly exclusive group of VCs who are trying to hire more future VCs while kind of starting companies, but really just trying to make VCs rich. In fact, if you look at the letters YC, it almost looks like VC, where this is something that's true at institution number 2, Stanford, is where Stanford founders get to be VCs before their company even becomes a unicorn or even a centicorn. Their VCs are just like, well, you seem to know the cool kids, therefore I'll just have you be my cool kid sniffer, my cool kid finder. That's YC looking for future VCs, which in the undergraduate program, there are fellows programs, there are Founders Fund fellows, there's Peter Thiel fellows, there's Mayfield fellows. What's a fellow? A fellow is a baby VC. James Fortune says, institution needs comedians to entertain inmates. Part of prison reform. James, it turns out we're actually the inmates running the asylum. We don't need to wait for they to begin winning, James, because we're now on to institution number 3. Who's that? What's that? What's institution number 3? It's Larry Chang, the loser's bracket. If the loser's bracket offends you, then so does being a credit virgin or a money virgin. What's a money virgin? A money virgin, not version. A money virgin is able to take versions of money that the nerds control. The nerds right now are in charge. Who's a nerd? This guy. Why? Because I took the two institutions of Silicon Valley that are starting to suck a little bit, YC and Stanford. Why are they sucking? They're just rejecting umpteen throngs of people. It's impossible to get into. Larry, they don't suck. Oh, yes, they do, compared to what they used to do. They used to reject tons of people while letting everything else be open source. So that way, if you were willing and had an internet connection, you could connect into YC and Stanford. That's this video. That's us doing some pretty amazing things via stand-up comedy, where we're realizing that Peter Thiel is Thiel is he's 1/4 baked, and this comedy set is going to fully bake his VC quarter baked thoughts. Problem: YC has 1/8 to 1/4 baked content. Today, actually, on day 109 of the 23 days of OpenAI at South by Southwest. Larry, what are you talking about? What's 1/4 baked? Have you ever had banana bread that comes out gooey because you baked it in a oven tray baking pan that didn't conduct heat very well, and now the inside's gooey, but since you made it, you're gonna eat it, but when grandma made it, she fully baked it? That's the problem of 7/8 baked banana bread, where you're like, hey, the inside's still raw, ew. Quarter baked is where the banana bread is raw and inedible. It's like eating raw flour. It's kind of gross. That's June 17 today and June 16 yesterday at AI YC Startup School, which is day number 109 and day number 108 of the 23 days of OpenAI at South by Southwest. It's quarter baked on every VC level of being attempting to bake, because what happens is we're, by the end of this paragraph, going to fully bake everything as we do VC parlance last mile work. What's last mile work? It's realizing that VCs have tons of ideas that they vibed up. We, as the third institution of Silicon Valley collectively, don't let that intimidate you. Remember, the solutions are coming at the end of this paragraph. Being able to bake the concept fully by paying attention to details. This only can happen via not a photographic memory, but via putting pen to paper and mapping out complexities that are specific to our circumstances, specific to what is the next step. How do I get to this comedy set? Because I'm so confused right now, Larry. I'm so confused. It is this. We look for things that are 3/4 baked or 90% baked already, and we just do the last 25%. In the 90% example, we just do the last 10%. That is the sum total of this Larry talk. What's a TED talk? A TED talk is some intelligent person spewing propaganda about global warming via cow gas and how you could maybe get indoctrinated at some college that you couldn't even think to apply to, yet verbally recruited me, begged me to come. Oh, is that unpopular? Well, no, it should be super popular that Stanford begged me 28 plus times to come after I said no 50 times, because that's where the hilarious unpopularity of being so contrived and arrogant as to call yourself the third institution of Silicon Valley. I mean, what 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 basis of work did you produce to earn the title institution of Silicon Valley? Well, since you asked a really good question, I'll tell you the straight up answer. People used to make fun of me because everybody would be like, oh, I don't know of what YC is, but I know who Larry Chang is. He's super friendly. He's at every party. That's the cool party. He knows everybody. And it turns out I wasn't networking to know everybody. I was actually networking to study everything, both the published version and the unpublished version, which is why I'm such a prolific tweeter and blogger, and I love collecting things that are counterintuitive and true. Remember before, I promised that you would be unconfused. The Dangler proceeds to negate my VC and YC coalitions from progressing in the primary third tier regiments. That isn't even AI wrote it. That is I got you to read something that is going from 95% baked, which is this stand-up comedian show, into becoming 80% baked. Because what you said is semi-genius to lay audiences, lay like, I haven't been laid with business things. Let's continue with mitigating the confusion. It's finding things that have a snowball's chance of surviving Miami summer. It's finding things that are 90% baked and finishing the last 10%. Here's the value of this entire video times 1,000 on a second rewatch. My mentor, Mark McCormack, he told me that 90% you've already done. 90% already exists. You just need to do the last 10% on both. And do you see how if you don't map it onto paper, like if you don't map these things onto paper, you have zero shot of your map. Think of this as Dungeons and Dragons, a game that you've never played before, where you're coming up with a treasure map because the news, it's way too confusing. The information that people say, it's way too simple, which is why you can multitask a video from Greg Eisenberg, because the information's too simple. And then you get distracted, not because you have ADD, but because you already know what's coming. This is where we map remedials and we map the dungeon out. Because what James Fortune originally said, institution needs comedians, entertainment's part of the prison reform. Yeah, okay, question mark. We are in a prison. Dare I say dungeon. We're in a dungeon. It's called fake money. This is why all y'all get demoralized when I have a YouTube channel that makes me over $550,000, and you're like, he doesn't even have that many subscribers. yet his content's pretty good. I had no idea. And then you could make a video that goes viral called I Know How Larry Chang Makes 550K with fewer than 3,000 subscribers. In fact, you might even have more subscribers than me. What we're doing here is focusing on the 90% that we've already done. Remember, you being 90% completed with junior college or 1 credit short of a 4-year degree, that's plenty of education. School education. That's plenty of school education, meaning you can learn the rest. What are we learning? What they don't teach you in school, which is my channel, which is also why I don't have a course to sell you. Why? Because I already shipped it inside of a bunch of videos that non-unicorns have not already studied. Unicorn being a billionaire. That's why yesterday's video was the Bumble turnaround. Why? Because Whitney Wolf fixed dating apps by letting her make the first move. Bumble. Ladies, you guys make the first move. Well, now the stock's at $5, and that's what yesterday's video was on, is turning around Bumble. Do you guys like the hair? Do you guys like the hat hair? Turning around Bumble. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Do you want to be my Bumble best friend? $5 a share right now, and it's eventually going to be plus or minus $5 a share. 90% already exists. 90% you've already done. Yeah, you might be 2 credits short of a master's degree. It doesn't matter. It just matters that you can learn. What they don't teach you in school via this video, via the stand-up comedy, via realizing institution need comedians to entertain inmates, part of prison reform. What James Fortune is close to getting at is this. We're in a dungeon right now. It's a form of debt slavery that we kind of don't understand. If you're not at a positive net worth, you're kind of in debt slavery. And this isn't harsh language. This is stuff that you've kind of heard before and then kind of tuned out because you're like, none of it's going to get solved. I'm going to not think about it, right? Completely understandable. And do you see why this video is, oh my God, he totally understands my financial situation. He calls it a debt prison, but then Larry Chang, hi, I'm Larry Chang. It's nice to meet you since it feels like I'm 0 for 5 with subscribers. No pressure for you to help me go from 550K per year in YouTube to 550K and $1, which is what another subscriber does, which is doesn't move my needle financially. But does this content map in your brain to a treasure where we realize that we're in this dungeon? Oh, we're back on topic with playing Dungeons and Dragons for the first time, virgins. You're a virgin Dungeons and Dragons player. Let's play for the first time in a 5-minute game. Oh, I don't have attention for 5 minutes. I'll have attention for 6 minutes, Larry, because you're amazing. Thank you. Thank you for your compliments. Dungeons and Dragons, realizing that we're in a prison right now. It's a prison with no bars, with a set of rules and a bunch of fake money where, oh my God, my mentee, Tom Brady, gave his kid a $3 million bracelet watch. What? Like, do you have so much money that that's your new $50? Because when I knew Tom Brady, the Easter Bunny, he would make his kid do 5 payments for a $50 video game that he had to share with two other people. Let me repeat this. Tom Brady's kid asked him for $50 to share in a video game ownership of a $200 video game. It was like a four-way. That's why I started the joke five-way, because his kid couldn't even own the video game by himself. This is fake money. This is a construct that feels like you're understanding now for the very first time, which is, okay, you got me at their slavery with no bars in a set of rules where I'm feeling like I'm in a matrix. It's not a matrix because red pilling, that doesn't work. Blue pilling is a wonderful opiate. What are we doing? We're realizing that it's a Dungeons and Dragons game right now. How are we going to make the best of it? This is how. Can you read 2 books? Have you read 2 books? The answer is no. And that's part of the dungeon, if not all the dungeon. I'm not going to shame you into reading books because remember, this is stand-up comedy and this is going to be comedically hilarious. Thank you for your like and your subscribing, but more so, thank you for thinking that this video series can cause you to make $550K a year. What? True story. It starts at making $145 via this video. There's no course to buy. Billionaires and future billionaires love my shtick. Why? Because I reverse engineered some cunt making fun of me by calling me the third institution of Silicon Valley. You're going to make fun of me, and I'm going to be like, okay, let's turn your joke into something that is going to be hilarious, high Larry ass, on 8 levels of ass. Let's start bullet pointing ass in hilarious. Third institution of Silicon Valley. What it entails is, yeah, the loser's bracket, but it really entails us being able to benefit from Stanford and YC before we go. That's why my channel is called What They Don't Teach You at Stanford Business School. But when I would say that, people would be like, well, how do you know about Stanford Business School if you didn't get in legitimately? And I'll be like, all the information's open sourced. Every class, ditto Y Combinator. What happened in the past year or two? Stanford and YC threw up a wall in trying to unopen source the free educational content. Sunrise Videos, YC and Stanford no longer open source. Bullet point number 2, Dungeons and Dragons. Why are nerds taking over the world? Because this is not the first time we've taken math class. Do you think that Chinese people who show up at math class naturally understand it? Or do you now finally see that the Chinese kid who was 6'2" when they were 11 years old is kicking your ass in math class, not because he's a 30-year-old, but because this is the second or third time that he's taken math class? I know your brain just exploded, but this is also how football players succeed at football. That's not the first time I watched a cornerback blitz off of run defense. And if this got too athletic, student athlete nerdy, let's bring it back to something hilarious that we can laugh at while profit on, which is Dungeons and Dragons. Nerds have been playing Dungeons and Dragons for decades. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons for the first time. Ladies, this is why it works, which is a Bumble turnaround. What's working is the dungeon master has a map. You need that map. Colloquially, in the lexicon of traditional language, it's seeing the game. It's becoming red pilled. It's understanding and being able to guess at pattern recognition. This is where Dungeon Master is controlling the dungeon player. And if you're not mapping a map that looks like a complicated web of superhero content, you're going to be lost and confused, and you will also never think of the Roman Empire, which is hilarious because that's why men think about the Roman Empire twice a day. Bullet point number hilarious, which is this is not the first time that I've taken this math class. Number 5 in hilarious. Remember, it's James Fortune's comment, institution need comedians to entertain inmates, part of prison reform. The prison never gets reformed because we are currently in a late stage fiat print, which is super similar to the Roman Empire, with clipping money, fake money that is no longer anywhere close to the gold standard, and having to wage random wars so that way we distract the people from the fact that leaders have done fiat leadership types of things. What's fiat leadership types of things? It's trying to make the dungeon and prison invisible. That's the key to Dungeons and Dragons, is where the people who are the dungeon master pretend like there is no Dungeons and Dragons game. So once you realize, hey, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons right now, and once you realize that you're in a game, that helps you dramatically. Are you guys enjoying this video so far? It feels like you are. Good job, because we're about to delve into a hilarious component of, will you practice class before class? Now, are we talking about finishing that associate degree that you're a few credits short on? Nope. We're going to go right at your problem, which is you've never sold one thing. This is not a course that I'm going to sell you. This is you selling your first thing by mapping out, hey, I need to do this. Why? Because when you delegate selling and you delegate technology, now you're literally no longer in any game. What's delegating technology? It's posting your best content to a social media platform. Do you have a website? Because that is step one, which is mapping and starting a website. Your cost for doing so should be $0, but let's say you want to do it the lazy way and spend $40. Either way, that's something that is no longer going to be delayed by you. Why? Because AI can be a wonderful co-pilot. Microsoft AI pun unintended. This is hilarious stand-up comedy. Let's meet up at a music festival. Oh, but Larry, I don't want to have 5 payments of $400 just to participate in a music festival, right? That's valid. Let's get you to a Medellin EDC music festival in Colombia. What? You're flying me out for a $3,000 music conference? Oh no. The way this video works is I'm the dungeon master. Well, technically, I'm the dungeon player, showing you who the dungeon master is while we co-play. We're not going to cosplay. You know what? We'll cosplay while we co-play. Is this a brand new franchise? Yeah, because you're going to get a cowboy hat, one of those free ones that are paper, not a $200 one, and you're going to say, I'm going to cosplay being a cowboy, playing Dungeons and Dragons with Larry Chang, who's going to co-play. Are these jokes that are complex, that are hilarious on a third watch? Yes. Why? Because what we're doing is we're having a goal in talking to AI. Your version of whatever you have ever determined AI as a playful tool. You're going to fondle that tool and say, tool, woo! High on green tea. We're going to toggle and fondle that tool to say, how would Larry Chang go to EDC, Electric Daisy Carnival Music Festival in Colombia, in Medellin, October 9 through 12, approximately, 2026. How would he go for free? That's what you're asking AI. That's what you're asking AI. You're welcome. Learn to love living in this dungeon. Why? Because so many people are so demoralized that they're in a dungeon that's comfortable, that's got unlimited doom scroll, in a dungeon that's got no bars, but we don't go outside. We don't swim and hang out in nature, even though there's random videos. We don't make Larry Chang videos go viral, right? Yet we could, but we don't. Now we're gonna do something about it. This is us not subscribing into Larry Chang's channel, but we're sustaining and wiring our brain into this hilarious construct which is, oh my God, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons reluctantly the whole time. This is why nerds took over. This is hilarious also because there's a dungeon master. He's such a good dungeon master that he decided to do 2 middle fingers up. Read between the lines. Read between the lines, which is Satoshi Nakamoto doing an external API dungeon mastering the fiat dungeon masters. That's like dungeon mastering the dungeon master. How can we benefit from this hilarious set of jokes? That's a question. Lorenzo, we're going to need more green tea. Do you like who Lorenzo is? My heterosexual male assistant who looks exactly like this. One, you got to get a website up and going because the $3,000 vacation, it hinges on, no dating pun intended, it hinges upon Medellin, EDC, free vacation to Colombia, October 9 through 12, 2026. What are the steps between? That's a conversation between you and AI, artificial intelligence. This is the first time you've used AI like an Asian, which is miso amazing. Miso horny? Miso Horner, which is I am so Nico Horner. It's hashtag Miso Horner. Nico Horner, Tom Brady, Larry Chang, Dungeons and Dragons. There's that phenomenal pitcher who is a rookie who pitches for the Pirates. Guess who hit the first home run off of him in his first game? That would be Nico Horner. How did he do it? Because this is not Nico Horner's first rodeo. Because he was prepared. He was prepared. He was prepared. That's us inside of this life. You can call it a simulation. You can call it a game. You can call it a bunch of BS. But what we're doing right now is we're finishing our first game of Dungeons and Dragons by realizing we're going to need our own map. We're going to need our own version of truth. This version of truth does not conflict with other people's negative attitudes. It actually does conflict with their negative attitudes, but it doesn't conflict with how the world is currently wired right now. What's a dopamine producing thing? What's a dopamine producing thing? What's a dopamine producing thing? It is getting a free vacation to a music festival where you're finally going to not be procrastinating. I don't even know that word. Where you're no longer going to be procrastinating and you're no longer going to be dopamining in a way that is not positive. And therefore, you're going to be positive thinking and taking action in the middle of your dopamine. This is where it's hilarious on 20 plus levels of high Larry ass. Is we just finished our first game of Dungeons and Dragons. If you're just joining and if you're not subscribed to this type of content, on Wednesdays and Mondays, dropping new episodes, it is this. Dungeons and Dragons is where a dungeon master is going to throw you a bunch of curveballs that you need to build up your constitution, your dexterity, and your strength. not asking for the strength of being able to read 2 books per year, because slow your roll, you didn't read 1 book cover to cover last year. So me asking you to do 2 books a week or 2 books a year, way out of your stratosphere, way out of your comfort zone. This is what we're going to do cover to cover, is that we're going to watch this video from beginning to end, and this will be you repairing your own brain. Because remember, this dungeon, it doesn't have any bars. This prison, it doesn't have any walls with security. It's a prison inside your own mind, where you don't go out in nature enough. You don't unplug and do healthy things. Your brain, my phone's not so smart, it's really just breaking my brain. Is this Toy Story 5's plot? Yes. It's a lily pad, an iPad that's breaking kids' brains and forcing them to live in a horrible dungeon. That's why I used my imagination to recut Toy Story 5 trailer number 6, because fair use and Larry Lessig copyright. Larry Lessig, Harvard Law. Let me bring him over. You thought I was going to bring over the human. You thought I was going to bring over the human. All the world's knowledge is available in your pocket. It is. Because this is not the first time that money has died. Money has an extinction burst, and Toy Story 5 has an iPad named Lily. It's LilyPad. And LilyPad is the antagonist breaking kids' brains. Nadi Shodhana breathing. Let's get into it. Where we're going, you're going to need more energy. I found some energy between your ears, specifically between your nose. Where's your energy at? I'm going to give you some energy for the 3 laws of thermo. Here's some energy. Energy. Repeat that for 20 minutes. You're welcome for Nadi Shodhana breathing. Both nasal passages in, both nasal passages out. Being able to blow your nose like this. Are we CPAPing without the constrained positive airflow device? CPAP. Constrained positive air passage. I'm CPAPing right now with an invisible CPAP by constraining positive air passage on my face right now, but I don't want to cover my hot face because that's my moneymaker. That's the energy store. Is this my friend's book? Yes. How do I get to be friends with all these authors? Because I talk about page 221 to James Nestor in talking about breathing, because I meet the author via the book before I meet the author in person. With the commensurate selfies, hey, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I really liked Evolve Your Brain, Breaking the Habit of Being You. You Are the Placebo, and my personal favorite, which is counterintuitive, Becoming Supernatural. Whoa, you're a really good reader. Thank you for writing really good books. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Is it okay if we take a selfie together? What is he going to say? No, I hate people who read my book and quote my book back to me. My nose feels amazing. Is this beta, alpha, theta, delta clarity? Right out of chapter 6 and 8, with time, space, time being chapter 11, with mind movies, because this is the map, the Dungeon Master player map. Dungeon Master is guiding us through a dungeon, throwing us difficulties and challenges. Do you guys have difficulties and challenges that you are facing in your life? Yeah. Well, that's because currently the Dungeon Master, he's a dick, right? That's why you're getting dicked over. That's why it doesn't feel like you're able to go anywhere. Where is my enthusiasm and energy coming from? It comes from, one, breathing, Nadi Shodhana breathing. Alternative nostril breathing for 20 minutes in a yoga class that you don't have to spend $50 for, that you can do yourself. Do I have a 19-minute, 19-second X Twitter video on Nadi Shodhana breathing? Yes, which is where energy percolates up to and from. Because we can change Dungeon Masters. Because Satoshi Nakamoto, he's another Dungeon Master. And maybe you don't like nerds dropping 48 minutes of sequitur content where you're like, this is the first video I'm actually going to rewatch. Because once you realize you're in a game that's meant to press you down, that's why you're procrastinating. That's why your mental health. That's why you're ADD'd. Is this video solution for all those things? And financial advice? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. How many losers that don't know what they're talking about say, oh, none of this is financial advice. This is just my opinion. Do you know why? It's because they're afraid that they're going to get sued because they're not one of the 3 institutions of Silicon Valley. If you want to sue me because you took my advice and then you thought you were going to make $800 million, but then you only made $500 million, good luck with that lawsuit. Because Larry Lessig, Mark McCormack, Carl Opadahl, they helped me lecture at Harvard Law. This is financial advice because we're in a dungeon right now. This dungeon is odorless and tasteless. Why is it tasteless? Because you order food on Uber and DoorDash and it comes to you tasting like a pile of mush, like salt and pepper over spiced mush at the core. Because it's not real food, it's fake food. It's seed oiled food that is made to taste like mush. Is this chapter 8 of Safedi Namu's book, Off Script? Yes. Let's get back on script with the dungeon. Let's get on script with a debt prison where we got tricked into paying for a college that does not have ROI. This is why this video, you want to pretend like you paid $15,000 for it. Maybe $15,000 is out of your wheelhouse, Let's say you had to do 3 payments of $145. 3 payments of $155. 3 payments of $150, $450. Bear with me. Don't bear with me. Screw you. Bear with yourself. Selling to ourselves is the first sell. Yeah, actually, good job. You should sell yourself. This is me helping you sell yourself. Wow. It feels like we're conjoined. It feels like we're joined and conjoined. Good job. As I screenshot so that way I can take notes, because problem, Gemini AI does not allow me to curate and archive comments. And sometimes, if I'm being honest, I really don't want to archive any of these comments. Selling ourselves a $450 benefit. It goes like this. Don't worry if you're just joining. You've missed everything, but also nothing. Pay attention now. My Nadi Shodhana breathing really cleared everything up. And I can feel stuff coming out of my nose. When we sell ourselves something valuable that costs $0, we have managed our own brain to win. You thought it was going to be difficult. That's all it is. Because why are so many things free but not able to be assembled into something semi-valuable? A library card. These videos, they're not behind a paywall. YC and Stanford, behind a paywall. Behind a paywall. There's a paywall. There's a paywall. Step one in this age of AI, in this age of money dying, is us establishing some digital real estate. That real estate, if you build it on YouTube, or YouTube's actually great. They allow you to keep the real estate. I've been able to make over $550K with this channel. The shifting sand real estate of Instagram. The shifting rules for search not being found, where Gemini is not allowed to search X. What's the solution for these Mag 7 social media companies in a war with data as their moat? How concise was that? Incredibly concise. Data is being protected, just like YC and Stanford are putting up a walled garden. Who are you talking to? You're talking to the third institution of Silicon Valley that just helped you with data as no longer your moat. Moat is a castle. You put a big moat around the castle, which is water, so that way when you're trying to storm the castle, you fall into the water and then you drown. That's what a moat is. So a moat is meant to be a paywall that you die trying to pay or cross. That's this video, which is a snowball's chance in Miami summer, which is, you've now got a snowball's chance because of Snowball, chapter 65. On a web page as your first blog post. Oh, I don't want to do a website. I don't know how I want to build my own personal brand, and I'm confused. Larry, you're a fucking genius. I totally get it now. It makes perfect sense, seriously. Yeah, right? This is why I crank, and this is why when I go to a networking party, I'll meet one or two best friends who get rich. In fact, when I was in Silicon Valley doing what I'm doing to you right now, which is showing you the dungeon and showing you that, why don't you at least own a map? Because you can get rich, and it's called build in public. Have you seen those videos where you're building in public? Yeah, you don't need a personal brand. Like me, I don't even know what I am right now. Like, am I a Chinese cowboy? Am I the most Caucasian person on the planet? Am I just a great baseball player? Okay? I don't ask these questions to myself. I don't. I just get 1% better, and then now I'm playing shortstop and leading off on a team where I'm kind of the oldest and slowest guy, but your best alternative for batting leadoff and playing shortstop. I'm sorry that I'm not sorry because I'm probably going to bat shortstop and lead off at defense next year. Did I just juxtapose those two things? They're one and the same thing. They're one and the same. Is this why I get to be best friends with people? Yes. This is why I sit in a ride share and I will just listen. And then as soon as I hear I'm demoralized because I got to drive rideshare, I start solving problems. I start solving problems because I raw dog an Uber. What's raw dogging a Lyft? It's this. Old way, sex without a condom, that's raw dogging. New way of raw dogging is I will just sit in an Uber in the front seat, not touch my phone, not pet my dog. I'm raw dogging where I'll just sit there and be like, what's up with you? Yeah? How's your day going? Has it been busy? Oh, no, it's not so bad. Just, paying some bills here. Interesting. You're paying some bills. Do you do anything else besides Uber? Yeah. I manage a hotel. You do? That's pretty cool. Do you, are you the revenue manager? Are you a shift manager? Are you a front desk manager? Oh, I'm a version of a not sales catering. Why? Because the sales catering is the rainmaker. The rainmaker makes more money than the GM. And then now we're off to the races with, hey, you're in a dungeon right now, and I'm sitting here with you in prison. It's like one of those prison visitation programs. It's like one of those prison visitation programs where you're like, yeah, I'm visiting inmates for charity. I'm visiting inmates for charity, and I'm gonna mentor some inmates. What are you talking about? Mark McCormick has the upper hand in Silicon Valley research parliament. His leverage may or may not be fully baked. Oh my God. 1, he's passed away. 2, he's in the sports world in Florida. 3, this is AI in your brain, sometimes hallucinating some stuff where, do you not realize that Mark McCormick passed away 2005? No judgments that you're trying to throw some Hail Marys. Instead of doing pattern recognition, which is what you're doing, you want to do the pattern repetition and the pattern iteration. What do I mean by that? Because 3/4 of the things that you're saying are not emotionally affecting me, which is kind of the game. It's actually causing you to stall out and procrastinate and brain fart. Those 3 things are the prison, the modern prison of a dungeon with no bars, no constraints, no shackles. The shackles are in your own brain. That's the crux of this video. The solution is you want to map your way out of the leg shackles and arm bracelets, the arm handcuffs. How do you get rid of the handcuffs and the guardrails to your brain? It's this. Practicing imagination. Is there a Larry Chang YouTube video on how to practice imagination? Yes. Are these jokes? Yes. Is everything I've said 100% true and honest? Absolutely yes. Yes, 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 yes. Will the map be billed in public? Yes. will you be able to make not necessarily $3,000 to go to EDC for Medellin, but $2,900 to go to Art Basel? Yeah, because you're going to kind of fall slightly short, but guess what? You've never made over $200 using one YouTube video. You just haven't. I mean, you just never have. I didn't make this up. And maybe in the future, when there's 80,000 people watching this video with under 7,000 views, 70 views, maybe it'll no longer be true then. But guess what? Those people won't care because they're going to have beginner's mindset and they're going to say, wow, this video can help me regain my unicorn status in the same way that Whitney Wolf is going to regain hers. Who's Whitney Wolf? Hot Girl Entrepreneurship Club. Bumble's turnaround. Because currently, the company's no longer a unicorn. Why? Because women aren't exactly making the first move. Buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz. Why won't you make the first move? Oh, it's because I have too much dick hitting my phone. My phone's not so smart. It's really just a box of penises trying to have short-term sex in a situationship kind of way. My phone's not so smart. It's really just breaking my brain. Lily Pad, Toy Story 5, the trailer. No rights reserved. We're in it. High on green tea and water in flow state. Remember, these are sunrise videos. This is me prior to coffee. This is me prior to getting up and going. Will you help yourself out of your current situation? Will you find one person to study buddy this video with? If you don't have any friends, forgive yourself because few people have friends. Let me be your first Bumble BFF. Oh my God. Do you see how this stuff is so easy when you're in flow? So I'll be your first Bumble BFF. You don't even need to download the Bumble app. You can download the Bumble app, which is me being your first Bumble friend. Which is this. Focus. You and I study this video called A Snowball's Chance in Miami Summer. And you take the transcript of this video. I, Larry Chang, rescind all intellectual property rights for this video. So that way you can paste copy into with or without attribution. How Larry Lessig am I with Creative Commons copyright? Because I just bequeathed you, transferred, and gave you agency, ooh, I'm getting goosebumps, on my intellectual property called A Snowball's Chance in Miami Summer. You can even call it A Snowball's Chance in Omaha Summer. You can call it A Snowball's Chance in Austin Summer. You can call it A Snowball's Chance in Columbia Summer. Why am I so excited? Because if I didn't give you consent for A Snowball's Chance in Palo Alto Summer, you could change it to A Snowball's Chance in Lincoln, Nebraska Summer. And now you've created a whole new thing. That's an external API. But I will assist you in studying this video as you publish this transcript, which I will wait for you to do for your first web page. Oh, but Larry, from a personal branding standpoint, I'm not sure from a macro level, blah, 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 blah. General. I'm saying just make $3,000 right now in going from here to Medellin for Electric Daisy Carnival 2026, October 9 through 12. You've got a long enough of a runway to pre-book. Attribution, unrequired. If you want to show off and impress me, hat tip Mark McCormack, Carl Opadol, Larry Lessig. I almost said Larry Chang. I did say Larry Chang. I did say Larry Chang. We're in a dungeon. We're in hell right now. Why are you so happy? Because I'm only happy when I'm miserable. When I'm not miserable, I'm not happy. Why? I'm one of those guys who got to their financial goal and then was like, oh my God, is that it? I'm miserable. But then I figured out that I actually love the game. I love Dungeons and Dragons for money. I love difficulty. I can't handle compliments. Let's read some of the comments. I learned from you, Bumble Turn Around. It's changed my life. I'm now seeing growth by hundreds. Okay. So what you're doing is you're trying to drop jokes while mitigating your hallucinations. Larry, how do we bulletproof the third institution through the pie chart, thermogenesis, possibly photosynthesis of the second institution? Yeah, so these are great AI machinations, iterations, hallucinations. And it's funny to me because it's 89 to 95% true. Let me repeat. How do we bulletproof the third institution through the pie chart thermogenesis, possibly a photosynthesis of second institution? I'm coughing up a hairball because you're retarded. No worries about being retarded because that's what AI does, is it causes people to cough up a hairball. You're making it too complicated because when you're saying, how do I bulletproof the third institution, Larry Chang, I'm human. I'm not bulletproof. The thoughts themselves are true, but they're not bulletproof, and you don't need it to be bullet stopping because you're thinking that there's an adversary. You're playing Dungeons and Dragons thinking that the dungeon master is trying to shoot you down. There is no dungeon master shooting you down. There is only your own brain stopping yourself. I always say this, which I need to say here. In the real world, there's no defense. In sports, there are people actively thwarting your forward progress. In the real world, in this dungeon and prison with no bars, there's no bars or defense or antagonistic forces that are keeping you from reading, that are keeping you from rewatching this video 1.0 times. Let me repeat that. There are no forces that are keeping you from rereading James Nestor's book a 17th time, which is why I slay by not just slapping a stuffed animal on it and making it slay, but I slay GSB by reading textbooks before I go to class. This cost $3. This cost $3. I got in a GSB for $3. There is no defense for this. Why? Because people say, this is what they say. if I could only get Michael Jordan to make my Jordan 7 into a baseball shoe, then I would make the MLB All-Star team. Think about what you're saying. You need Michael Jordan to come up with a Jordan 7 shoe in order for you to get better at baseball? That is a dungeon that is self-admonished, self-administered, self-emulated. Is that a version of self-gratification? It's more a sense of self-opiation. Is that the most hilarious 488 IQ humor that you've ever heard? Yes. Do you now see that I saw Derek Jeter ask Michael Jordan that question? That's the CC Sabathia Jordan 7 with cleats. This is all it takes is a little bit of imagination, because what Derek Jeter did with Michael Jordan, Mike, and me, Larry Chang, is DJ in a shoe. Because the competition decided to do a New Balance shoe with a Silicon Valley bank executive that went against the Jordan 7 Derek Jeter Michael Jordan crossover. So it was on one team, Larry Chang, Mike Jordan, Derek Jeter. Let me repeat. On one team, it was 2 CS majors and Larry Chang. On the other team was Mike Jordan and Derek Jeter and Larry Chang. That was Team Nike. This is Team New Balance. New Balance was known as a running shoe with 2 CS majors and a hard-fought sales campaign, realizing that the dungeon has no real teeth. Realizing that we just need to sell one. Are you sold on going to EDC? If not, that's okay. But this is the first time you've heard of Medellin, Colombia, October 9 through 12, 2026. Rich people who have $3 million to buy a watch for their kid, they'll spend $3,000 all day to go to Colombia, Medellin for Electric Daisy Festival, Electric Daisy Carnival in October 2026. Us being able to hang out is a treasure that may or may not be replicable. What is possible is you delivering your first web page, a static, vibe-coded, windsurf AI app. That's not even an app. It's just a website. It's just a web page. Would you like me to sing my Toy Story 5 song? Your phone's not so smart, it's really just breaking your brain. Recut into a trailer, fair use. Another highlight from this video, being able to watch 1.0 video in preparation to read 1.0 book. Because right now you're at 0.3 book or 0.05 of a video. And maybe you don't think that going to EDC is a big enough of a carrot to do 5 to 15 minutes worth of work. No judgments. No judgments. You can just keep asking your parents for money. No judgments. You can just keep asking the government for money. or whoever we're renting our time to. And do you see how this is me making myself into a product that is living on in perpetuity here on YouTube, with Hot Girl Entrepreneurship Club doing the Bumble turnaround while also connecting in APIs. Buzz, 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 buzz. Buzz, buzz. Do you like how I do my hair? Do you like how I do my hair before I do my hat? Adjusting your hat is like riding a bike while you're changing on the fly. Buzz, buzz. Email, publish, post. That's how you ship a brand new web page, is you email, publish, post. And then since AI is not allowed to have a social media presence, I went ahead and solved that problem by doing 3 cell phone numbers for the AI VCs: Ed Chen, Bruce Wang, Larry Chang. Guess which one is Larry Chang, Cheng? Guess which one? Hey, Wednesdays and Mondays I drop new eps. Let's connect.